Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Great. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this session. We have a jam-packed session for you. We are going to get straight into it. Our session today is going to be talking about investing on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. We're going to unpack a little bit about why investing is important. We're going to talk about stocks, what the Lusaka Securities Exchange does, and we're also going to give you some guidelines and tips about how you can participate in the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Just a few notes that we have some of my colleagues in the chat who will be able to take some of your questions. And I will introduce myself in a second, but just for a little bit of housekeeping, you can comment in the chat box and our colleagues will be able to answer them. And at the end of this presentation, we'll be able to do a Q&A where we can ask one or two questions. I am about to share my screen, and while I'm doing that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Martin Manjolo. I am one of the private wealth managers here at Mani Acumen Advisory. I've been in the financial services industry for roughly around close to 10 years now in both corporate and retail investing and banking. And I work in the wealth management space to help educate people and help people make decisions that help them grow their investment portfolios to achieve their goals and objectives. We'll talk a little bit about that, about how we do that as we go ahead. But without further ado, we are going to get straight into the presentation. Okay. Right. So what are we going to be talking about today? So we're going to start by understanding what the Lusaka Securities Exchange is. I will continue to refer to it as the LuSE from now on. We're going to talk a little bit about the basics of the LuSE. We're also going to talk about ownership requirements, what it means to be an owner of a share, and what the application process is for getting yourself onto the Lusaka Securities Exchange. After that, we'll switch into talking about performance of the market, how it's performed in 2025, and we'll also look a little bit back the last 5 years or so to see where the market is now. And then we will touch a little bit on our thoughts in terms of where the future is circa 2026. Always, it's very important for everybody to note that this presentation that we're giving you is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute any investment advice. It's not a recommendation or an offer to buy or sell any securities. Everyone here is encouraged to seek independent professional advice before making any investment decision. With the disclaimer out of the way, let's get into it. So, let's talk about investing. Why is investing important? Well, investing is important for a number of different reasons. Most of us have grown up on understanding the importance of savings, and a lot of us are pretty confident and understand what it means to spend. But investing is important because of the levers that it gives us. The first one, obviously, is wealth accumulation. I don't think it's a secret to note that money that's invested today will grow significantly over time. I like to think about this like a seed. Any seed that you plant in fertile ground, which you nurture, will grow into a tree that will continue to give back over and over again. So that is why investment is important. Another big thing that's a big talking point, especially in Zambian society, is inflation protection. Investing in assets that grow faster than the rate of inflation makes sure that the money that you have today can continue buying the things that you like to buy. And inflation is the general increase in prices of goods and services. With the right investments, you can find yourself growing your investments and your wealth in that portfolio faster than inflation can erode it. Another great reason why we should invest is it gives us an opportunity to participate in the economy, in the economic growth of the market, of the economy. What does that do? Owning stocks allows us to take advantage and be a player in the market to actually be part of the growth and trajectory of the country. And finally, legacy building is a very big play. While seeds planted today, using that analogy, will provide fruit for future generations. So these are the key reasons why we invest. I've just seen a quick comment from one of the team, from the participants about my audio. So just give me one moment. Let me make a quick adjustment, make sure it's a little bit louder. Okay, great. So legacy is definitely one of the most important aspects that uh, is a big reason why investing is such an important thing. Planting seeds for today that allows future generations, and we can think long term in terms of, you know, our children, our children's children, and other people coming afterwards. The seeds we plant today will always benefit tomorrow. So with that said, let's go into stocks and equity. So what is this when we talk about investing? Stocks and equity are one aspect of the many vehicles that you can use in investing. And essentially, when you participate in a stock, you buy shares in an ownership in a company. If I had a company today selling tomatoes on the side of the road and I came to you and asked you to put some money in, I would give you a part of my business. And as a result of that, you would be entitled to participating in the growth of that business. What are the advantages of participating in the public market? You have the potential for long-term growth. If the companies continue to grow and to do well over time, you see the value of your money and your investment grow. The financial term for that is capital gains. Additionally, if you invested in my company, I would promise to pay you a percentage out of my profits every time I make profit. The financial term for that is dividends. So dividend income is another potential advantage that comes from companies that are growing, that have strong growth, and that have enough profit left over to pay out the shareholders as a result of that. So those are the two biggest advantages that you gain by participating in the stock market. And it also gives you ownership in a public company. So let me take a quick step back and talk about that. When you participate in the exchange, you are participating in companies that have chosen to go public, which means that we have insight into how the companies are run, their business models, their goals and objectives, their performance, and we can journey with these companies. And these are the companies that we'll be making reference to throughout the rest of this presentation. It's also important that wherever there's pros, there's always cons. One of the interesting things to be aware of is that investing in stocks tends to carry a little bit higher risk than other types of investments because prices of the stocks can go up and down quite significantly. We've seen quite a lot of this happen this year. There's been rapid increases in the prices of some stocks on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. And this movement brings the aspect of volatility, which is how quickly the price moves up and down. This is a concern, and typically what we advise is that if you hold your investments for the medium to long term, that time frame should be enough for these stocks to recover, and generally over the very long term, stocks and equities and indices tend to go up in value over time. So just as a quick go back on that one, the two best advantages of investing in the market is that your investment value will grow over time. There is a potential for dividends in terms of regular income that can be coming your way or as a benefit of being an owner in the company. And it's always good to be aware of what's happening around the company and the economy at large, because that can affect the prices and it could increase the risk and volatility of the prices. So, with that said, let's dig a little bit deeper and look at the LuSE. What is the LuSE? So, the Lusaka Securities Exchange, once upon a time, was called the Lusaka Stock Exchange, and it is Zambia's main securities exchange. Securities in this case are the stocks and bonds that trade. These are public financial instruments that people like yourself and myself are able to purchase. The basics of the exchange, think about it like a market. It basically is a platform that connects buyers and sellers and has been doing so for over 30 years, giving access to financial products and services to the general public. It is Zambia's national stock exchange. And like I mentioned, it provides opportunities to buy and sell securities. And the interesting thing about the LuSE is that it operates two types of markets. we have the main board, which is the market that has the larger companies, the names that everybody hears about in the news, the Copperbelt Energy Corporations, the Airtels, the ZCCMs. These are large companies that are been trading for a very long time and have large values. If I'm not mistaken, they're looking at trading revenues greater than 20 million kwacha annually. Those are the large companies that operate on the main board, and all of us have an opportunity to participate in the main board. But what the LuSE did in recent years is they came up with what they call the alternative market, which is an opportunity for small and medium-sized businesses to also list on the Lusaka Stock Exchange and also participate in the exchange. We actually have an exciting initial public offering, which is the first time a company comes onto the exchange, coming up very soon with a company called .com Zambia. They're a much smaller company. They will be listing on the alternative market, and there will be an opportunity for everybody to buy into the vision of the company and own shares in the alternative market. It's a very exciting development because we haven't had a new listing since roughly 2020 when Zafico last listed. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, and we'll definitely share more details as we get closer to the listing date. So that's a little bit about the LuSE, and one of the key advantages of the LuSE is the strong regulatory framework that guides the LuSE's activities. The LuSE is overseen by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Zambia. This is the regulator in charge of managing all the capital markets in the country. The LuSE is governed by trading rules that have been set forth by our constitution and by the execution of the regulation by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And as a result, there are very strict disclosure obligations. So you will always be aware of how well the companies are doing in terms of profit and profitability, revenue generation, and the like, because it is mandated that they report on these things. Additionally, the LuSE is the point of information for activities such as annual general meetings. If you're an owner in a company, you have the opportunity to participate in these annual general meetings. And as an owner and a shareholder, you can actually vote on future direction of these companies. A great example of this happened very recently when FNB was announced as the purchaser of Standard Chartered's wealth and retail business. That information is very price sensitive because Standard Chartered trades on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. So they cannot keep it secret. As a public listed company, they had to guide the public about the journey from when they first announced all the way down to the announcement of FNB as the purchaser. And over the next few months, you will see more communication that will be shared by the Lusaka Securities Exchange regarding what will happen in terms of the transition. So that is a key thing. There's access to information that helps us as investors make informed decisions. All of the framework also allows for what we call a central securities depository. So this is a centralized depository that is overseen by the Lusaka Securities Exchange, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the transaction aspect of it is overseen by the Bank of Zambia. But these are this central securities depositories basically allow each of us to have accounts where our shares and the transaction values are held. And this is what enables the trade of shares, the buying and selling of shares back and forth between different market participants. So how does this all work? A very, very quick look at the behind the scenes in terms of what happens when you make a trade. Let's say Martin is excited about the growth prospects of company A and would like to buy shares in it. Martin would go to a broker who would help open a central security depository account. And Martin would then make a purchase where the shares will be held electronically in I'll call it CSD account going forward. And that's where they're held. Every time a purchase is made, and the beautiful thing about the Lusaka Securities Exchange is that everything has been turned electronic. The shares are held electronically, and Martin then has the option to sell his shares to another participant who's interested, maybe because Martin has made his profits, or Martin can continue to buy shares in the market as they become available. So That is the first point. And for everybody who will want to participate in the stock exchange, your first point would be to go to a registered broker, a regulated broker, and open a CSD account. The opening process tends to be very, very similar to opening a bank account. There are some slight differences, but once you have that trading account, that CSD account, you will be able to buy and sell shares. All trades are executed through licensed brokers, such as ourselves. Money Acumen Advisory is a licensed brokerage with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Lusaka Securities Exchange. So you are able to issue instructions to us and other brokers in the market, and we're able to purchase and sell based on the instructions that you've given to us. A very, very important thing to note is that in Zambia, we have a T+3 settlement cycle. What does this mean? It means that if you make a purchase of a share today, which is Friday the 7th, you need to count 3 working days for the electronic system to clear the trade, move ownership from the previous owner into you, and then make sure that the funds are transferred from you to the previous owner. So that means if a trade is executed today, that trade will settle on Wednesday, the 10th, which is 3 working days later. So every time you see the T+3, know that the settlement and full ownership of those shares will be yours 3 working days after the trade has executed. So let me just go back. Yep, there we go. Excellent, great. So as a quick summary, how do you get started with trading on the LuSE? You have to go through a licensed broker. The list of brokers, including ourselves, is available on the Lusaka Securities website, as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission. That will guarantee that any risks or any fraudulent activities can be curtailed. Please always only execute your trades through licensed brokers. Once you've selected a licensed broker, you need to open a brokerage account or a CSD or a Central Securities Depository account. There is some KYC information or know your customer information required. This is information such as your passport photos, your NRC or passport, your financial information, banking statements, proof of residence, and the like. This information is required for legal and regulatory purposes. But once that process is completed, you are then able to buy and sell orders, which allows you to buy and sell stocks and get shares in these. Every time you make a buy or a sell, that is an execution and that is a trade where you can buy multiple shares under one trade. After that trade is completed, you will always receive a confirmation of settlement through a contract note that lets you know that your trades have been settled, and holding statements to let you know how much you've purchased and what the valuation is, how many shares you have. Now, one of the ways most clients have the option to buy and sell based on their own trading strategies. But I'll be remiss if I didn't mention that we as Money Acumen offer a paid investment advisory service that helps you get unbiased recommendations based on your goals and objectives. What does this service do? It basically helps us understand your risk appetite and your needs, and it helps us come in and hold and walk together with you to help you build your stock portfolio. It is an optional service. We'll talk a little bit more about it towards the end of the session, but it is definitely something that is useful for people who are new and want to make sure they're not going into the stock market blindly and want a professional advice to help them in their purchases and their trading journey. Again, I will say it is a paid optional service, which we obviously personally highly recommend, but then you do have the option of purchasing shares and stocks on your own based on your own goals and objectives and your own experience in the market. Another important thing is that there is always a cost to trading. And what are these costs? There are certain costs that are associated with your trade. For every trade that you execute on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. By law, there are certain fees that will be charged, regardless of which broker that you use, and whether you're buying or selling. To get into a position is the buying part. To get out of a position is the selling part. Each trade will always attract these fees. And this is something to always bear in mind and be to account for, that every time you make a trade, when you're putting in a certain amount, for instance, if you're putting in 1,000 kwacha, you need to include 1% broker fee, a 0.25% Lusaka Securities Exchange fee, 0.125% Securities and Exchange Commission fee, and 0.125% Lusaka Clearing and Settlement Agency fee. Collectively, for every trade, you're adding an extra 1.5% in fees that are charged on every trade that you make. And those are considered very low fees in the industry. Brokers around the world tend to have much higher fees. But the Lusaka Securities Exchange has unique advantages. The first thing is that there are no capital gains taxes charged on listed securities. So if the value of your company goes up, if you bought at 1 kwacha and your stock is now trading at 5 kwacha, there is no capital gains tax charged. You can sell your position and get the full benefit of the full 5 kwacha. There's also no dividend tax. So every time a company announces a dividend, that dividend is being passed on to individual investors at no additional cost. I will pause and note that for companies and corporates that are buying shares, dividend tax is charged as like withholding tax, which is at 15%. But for individuals like myself and yourselves, there is no dividend tax. I know there's a lot of clients who are very excited about the dividend that's coming up from CEC in a few days. They will not be taxed. Dividends and capital gains are exempt from taxes on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Another great advantage is there is no property transfer tax. So if you sold your shares or bought shares, there is no tax levied on the transfer of that. It is an incentive again that's been set up by the government to encourage more activity and more growth and more participation in the market. So on the one hand, yes, we do have small fees attached to that, but on the other hand, there are no additional taxes apart from the trading tax. So with that said, we're going to take a bit of a look and see why the Lusaka Securities Exchange is great. So let's take a look and have a chat about market performance. So let's do a quick summary. Let's start with the big headline number, which is inflation. So inflation is definitely on the down, or is moving downwards. As you can see, this chart is trying to show as of October 2025 what the inflation rate was. The inflation rate actually has been updated from 12.3% that you see there to 11.9%. So we as a country are definitely on track to hit the Bank of Zambia's target of between 6 and 8%. If we continue at this rate, we should see that in the first quarter of 2026. What does that mean? Why is this happening? On the broader perspective, the economy is more stable. We're seeing some moderation in food and energy prices. We're seeing energy prices, especially when it comes to cost of fuel, coming down. One thing, obviously, is that cost of living remains high, especially in the major capitals like Lusaka. Cost of living remain very, very high, and families and households still need to be very careful with their planning and budgeting. However, we do expect this downward trend in the inflation rate to continue into the end of 2025. One very key number that we all watch is the monetary policy rate. This is the rate that basically the Bank of Zambia sets that determines the cost of borrowing in the country. Typically, when the rate goes up, the rate is usually increased to help control inflation, as we can see from the chart. The Bank of Zambia continued to raise the monetary rate. What this did is that it made it harder to borrow, but it then cooled down inflation. So the higher rate means higher interest on your savings and fixed deposits, and usually increased savings, but it means that it's harder for companies and for individuals to borrow, making it more expensive and discouraging investments. What we've seen, however, is that the Bank of Zambia has adopted its monetary and fiscal policy in a way that has stabilized that interest rate and has continued to have positive effects on the inflation rate. We suspect and we speculate and hope, based on our analysis, that as we get closer to the Bank of Zambia targeted rates of 6 to 8% in those bands, we should see the Bank of Zambia change in monetary policy to encourage investments. We are likely to see a reduction in the MPR rate as we get closer to that inflation number. So these are two numbers to keep an eye on. For the time being, we don't see any major changes in the near term, but in the medium term, we do expect that if we do hit our inflation targets, the ripple effect would be that it will be cheaper for individuals and companies to grow, to borrow, which means that we should see some growth in the economy. And no presentation will be complete without speaking about what the kwacha has done. We saw quite a lot of depreciation of the kwacha, and this year has been a very key year for the Zambian kwacha. We continue to see a lot of growth and strength in the kwacha. Right now, the kwacha is hovering right around the 22 kwacha rate that we have indicated there. We do see there's a lot of strength in the kwacha, supported by strong copper prices. Copper on the international market has met all-time highs. It's the highest it's ever been. I believe it's now well above $10,000 per ton. And we're also seeing a lot of contributing factors in the macroeconomic space, debt restructuring being a very big one. And globally, the tariff conversations are also coming into play. It's very interesting that we're at a time whereby our world is now turning to dependence on renewable energy sources, and copper continues to be a very, very key component. And we have had billions of dollars invested into our copper industry, so we do expect continued strength as the kwacha goes. So what that means is that we do the kwacha should become stronger. Imports and production costs should become cheaper as we move ahead, and the stable appreciation will preserve international value. The fact is that current dollar-denominated savings are currently worth fewer kwacha. We do expect this to continue, and it's the election year of 2026 is still very difficult to read. But if everything stays as it is with the macroeconomic factors continue, we could continue to see even more strength in the kwacha. So, what does this really mean for your money? It means that if you leave your money in low interest accounts, you are likely losing value over time. It may surprise you to note that the average bank savings account has an interest rate of 5%, and only if you don't make any withdrawals over a 1-year period. And with inflation at the high rate it was, about 12% at the time when this presentation was developed, it means that every year, if you're holding your money in a savings account, you are losing 7.3% per year in terms of purchasing power. If you invest in products, in investment vehicles, you can help your money outpace inflation. Our analysts have given us a targeted growth rate of 15%. And if you were able to get an investment that gives you at least 15% per annum, you'll be at least above inflation, but by at least 2.71%. And this is why I'm very excited to show you the next slide, because on average, 15% in a long-term investment is pretty reasonable in the Zambian market. But when we look at the darling of the world, which is the Lusaka Securities Exchange, it may surprise you to note that the Lusaka All-Share Index is up 562% in the last 5 years. That means you would have been 500% higher in terms of your investment if you had started your LuSE investment in 2022. In 2025 alone, the LuSE is up over 60%. in kwacha terms, and it is up over 84% in dollar terms. This makes the Lusaka Securities Exchange the world's best performing index so far. So, what does this tell us? The index is on a positive trajectory. There's a lot of positive investor optimism, especially in the main industries like telecoms, mining, and renewable energy. And this is why we've seen big gains happen in the companies like Airtel, CEC, and ZCCM, to the fact that we now have $2 billion companies in the market. And we are looking potentially at a $3 billion company that's coming up soon. I will answer which company that is, but I'm curious to see if anybody in the chat can have a guess which the next $1 billion company is. But let's take a look at current participation. And the beautiful thing about the Lusaka Securities Exchange is that it's open for business for local and institutional investors, as well as foreign investors as well. We've seen quite a lot of growth in the local space. 27% of all investors on the LuSE currently are local Zambian investors, who like myself and yourself. Big companies and corporates like your NAPSAs and your large pension funds make 44%. We see 22% in foreign institutional investors, and we're seeing a lot of interest coming in from foreign retail investors with a 7% holding of the market. We see more and more participation on the local space, but it's pretty clear to say that the market is open for business. We are definitely in a bull market, and we should continue to see more growth over time. So the LuSE All Share Index is, just to explain, is the Lusaka All Share Index, which is a weighted average of the valuations of all the stocks that are on the market, which is currently roughly around 25,000. There's some optimistic hopes that it might go up to 30,000 by the end of the year. I don't think that's likely. I think we might see that in the new year. But I think everyone is agreed that the LuSE is still on the rise. We are currently averaging around 320 to 330 billion in terms of market capitalization. And market capitalization is basically the number of shares multiplied by the share price. If you had to put all of that in terms of the value, this is how much the LuSE is currently worth. Our key sectors are banking, manufacturing, mining, and telecoms. But we still have a very, very small market. There are only 22 listed stocks on the market, so liquidity is a bit of a challenge. There's a lot of the turnover that happens on the LuSE is concentrated in a few stocks. There is thin liquidity in smaller stocks, and the much larger stocks are the ones that are seeing the most movement. So we look at the LuSE as the perfect buy and hold market to play in, and we always encourage our investors to look long term and should plan holding periods accordingly. Definitely very important to understand that there is, because of the very light weighting of the number of companies that are on the LuSE, market and liquidity risk remains a very, very big part of the market. The LuSE is subject to currency fluctuations. All reporting is done in kwacha. Most of all the companies, the vast majority of them have kwacha exposure, so they are affected by the movements of the kwacha. Something that also affects a market of this size and scope is regulatory and political risk. Generally, the LuSE tends to perform well when the political and regulatory environment are clear and straightforward and sustainable for private investors and public investors. And we're seeing a lot of stability right now. And also a very big part is company-specific performance. And there are some companies that have delisted from the LuSE because their performance did not meet expectations. So what are we looking at as we go into 2026? We definitely expect copper price trends to continue driving the economic sentiment. The world is going renewable. I've started to see quite a few hybrids and a few electric vehicles there. A lot of that copper is coming from here. Zambia's copper is in very high demand, so we should expect the kwacha to remain strong. We should also expect a lot of development in Zambia as Zambia continues to rapidly urbanize. On the medium to long term, foreign direct inflows and political stability are expected to remain. We expect to see more investment coming in. I'd mentioned earlier on that we have over $10 billion of mining investment in the copper belt regions. And we're expecting a huge amount of investment in the renewable energy sector. There are projects happening in Wapula. We've got solar plants coming online in the central and copper belt provinces. And there's a deliberate effort to address the load shedding challenges that we faced using renewable energy sources. So these attract money into the company and into the country, and we expect them to continue to support growth. And what does this mean for the LuSE? Look out for new listings. Like I mentioned, .com Zambia is one of the companies that is listing now. We do expect to see some privatizations. There is a possibility that some companies might want to go more private. We do expect that, but we definitely expect a lot of SME participation. So if any of you has a growing business, it might be worth looking at the Lusaka Securities Exchange as a way to raise your next capital. The cost of capital on the LuSE is considerably cheaper compared to banks. It's definitely something worth looking at. And for those who are in the small and medium enterprise space, I would say watch the pages of .com Zambia and a few other names that I will not mention that are coming online soon. And who knows, you might be the next big company on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. So, what are some practical tips that I always advise every client I operate with? The most important thing, the Chinese have a saying that says that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. What does that mean for us? It means you start with what you have. Begin with small, diversified positions is definitely something that I would highly recommend. Keep abreast and learn your market. Follow the LuSE announcements. Understand market reports. It's very, very easy to understand how well a company is doing. And there are now tools and AI that can help you understand. Obviously, with AI, take it with a pinch of salt. Always validate that AI is giving you the right information. But follow the LuSE announcements and the market updates. And engage with your broker regularly. We have analysts, and we have a team in place that is constantly looking at the market and making recommendations and adjustments to our clients. Your brokers will be a great source of information going forward when it comes to activities on the LuSE. And with that, hard to believe we are already 40 minutes in. That is all I had for you. Right now, I will take a moment to hand over to our CEO, Madam Liapa. Liapa, are you online and ready?
Hi, Martin. I'm here.
Hi, great. Thanks for coming through. Liapa, I will hand over to you, and you can take us through the rest of the pro. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin, for that very comprehensive presentation. I hope everyone under the sound of your voice gained some knowledge on how the LuSE has been performing and how they can benefit from the stock market. So, like mentioned earlier, Money Acumen is now a trader and a broker on the stock market. And what that means is we are bringing these opportunities closer to you. We understand how to curate portfolios and how to grow wealth and manage wealth on behalf of our clients. And that is something that we would like to do for you and for everyone that is here present with us. We have a team of experts, Martin included. We have Etta, that's in the comment section, and a lot more people right here at Money Acumen readily available to assist you, guide you through how the stock market has been operating the past couple of the past couple of months and the past couple of years. So we build our recommendations on data. We're very big on data. So even when we sit down with you, we sit from an informed perspective. And that is our promise to you. So we operate under two ethos, thoughtful investing, and our bias is to you, which insists that every information that comes to you is thoughtfully curated, and our biases to you means that you are our focus at every given point. Uh, just a quick run through with how the markets have performed year to date. I know Martin has done a terrific job at it. But if we highlight some of these businesses, you realize that Africa Explosives is up 208%. Just to justify why the LuSE is performing really well, we have Airtel that is up 216% year to date. British American Tobacco is sitting at 296% year to date. We have CEC that is up 65%. Like he mentioned, there's a dividend being paid out next week. The last trading date being Tuesday. Yeah, so between now and Tuesday, you can push in your trades, open your account, push in your trades, and see if you can benefit from the dividends that are coming. And the dividends are being paid. The dividend yield on that particular stock is 4% for this payment that's coming out, which is terrific, if you ask me. We have companies like Reese that are up 28% year to date. ShopRite is up 38% year to date. Zafico is up 15%, Sanako is up 9%, Zambia Sugar is up 80% year to date. ZCCMI Edge is up 149.69%. So this is terrific news for everyone that's here. And I'm really hoping you can take advantage of this. We are the best performing stock market in the world for a reason, and it would be a shame if we didn't indulge in what's going on right here back at home. So yeah, like I mentioned, we have ETA in the comment section. We've dropped our information, both our email addresses and our direct contact numbers, so you can get in touch, or you can leave your emails right there and someone will get in touch with you. I also know that we collected some information as you signed up for this webinar, so someone will definitely reach out to you, but kindly spread the word so that we can have more investors coming to the stock market. I think I've said quite a bit. It's time for us to jump into the Q&A, and I'm confident Martin will answer every single question that you have. So yeah, thank you again for joining us. There's another webinar coming to you next week. We're having a webinar every week for the rest of the year. So sign up to our newsletter. You'll get available shares on the market every single morning, immediately the market's open, which is after 10 a.m. And every day you'll receive a closing end of day report to show you how the market's performed. And even on our brokerage side, we have designated relationship managers that get in touch with you just to make sure that you are well attended to. So yeah, we're excited to have you on board. Martin, is there anything I've left out? I think you can take it up from here.
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, thank you so much, Liapa. And we do have 16 minutes left. So yeah, we're going to take a few questions. Let's see, I'm trying to think of a good way of doing this because I can see quite a few questions in the chat. Let's see, let me see if I can do a quick run through of the questions. Just a moment. Sorry about that. Okay, great. All right, so yeah, having a quick look at the questions. And obviously our securities relationship managers, Etta and Lukundo, are in the chat as well. I've seen they've left some of their emails, so you can contact us on the screen as well. You can see our contact number is there, as well as our email where you can send information there. So if we don't get to all your questions, please use that. You can also scan the QR code there. So I'm gonna quickly, in the next 5 minutes. Just look at these questions in the chat, and then I'll open it up to allow direct questions from the audience. Mr. Laxton asks, what do foreigners need to buy shares on the LuSE? That's a great question. So as long as they're able to, the easiest way I can look at that is that as long as they have the legal rights to, own and hold a bank account in Zambia, there should be no issue for them to purchase it. They just have to be from a jurisdiction that is not a sanctioned jurisdiction. But once they come in, it's very similar to the process of opening a bank account. They will probably have to go through some enhanced due diligence, as well as the standard KYC procedures to make sure that they're clean from anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing. But once that's done, they have the same ability to participate in the stock market, just like any ordinary Zambian. So yeah, there's one or two extra things that has to be done, especially enhanced due diligence. And the goodness about the Lusaka Securities Exchange is we're not like other markets, like the US market that has a what they call a PDT rule, where you need about $25,000 to invest. They can get started from relatively reasonable amounts, actually. There's no actual limitation. As long as they are allowed to do business and can legally hold an account in Zambia, they should have no issues trading on the LuSE. Let me have a look at another question here. Sunrik, you got the answer correct. Zambia Sugar is potentially our next $1 billion unicorn, followed very closely behind by Airtel. Zambia Sugar's current valuation is roughly around $965 million. Airtel is very close to the $700 million mark. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. I noticed there's a question about listed companies that has been answered. Liapa Tawani thinks you're an extremely inspiring person. So that one is, there's your flowers, your direction. And just to answer on the delisted question, so when a company delists from the Lusaka Stock Exchange, its shares are removed from public trading. Shareholders approve the delisting resolution, and the company would typically make an offer to buy back shares, depending on obviously the state of the company. Share owners retain ownership and may need to negotiate exit options privately. One thing I do know is that debtors are always taken care of first, and then shareholders are done. Stella asks, how are inherited shares transferred from one owner to the other? So it depends. Typically, when you have a CSD account, you typically have a next of kin who will be reached out to in the event of, let's say, the demise of the previous owner. We always recommend that there should be some sort of succession plan in the background running, something like a will or an estate plan that should be done. But typically, in the event of this, we will try to reach out to the next of kin and follow the guidelines by the law to ensure that the transfer is there. If the next of kin is found and the legal processes are followed, then a transfer can be had. Otherwise, these shares will be held by the Bank of Zambia and legal processes will proceed. I've already answered the foreign one. Let's see. Here's a great question from Bessa. Bessa asks, is the CSD that is used for stocks and equity the same one used for bonds? So no, it is not, because the Central Securities Depository account is operated under two regulators. The one for bonds is operated by the Bank of Zambia. So you will note that the Bank of Zambia's CSD account will have Bank of Zambia treasuries, which is treasury bills and treasury bonds. This CSD account that is on the brokerage side under the SEC will be the one that handles your stocks and your corporate bonds, which is bonds that have been issued by companies. A great example is a bond that was issued by CEC not too long ago. And I think the news is now going around that Zanaco is planning to raise $150 million in a sustainability bond. That will also go through the Lusaka Securities Exchange when the time comes. So to answer your question, you would have two CSD accounts, one under the Bank of Zambia and one under the regulator, which is SEC, which is under the Lusaka Securities Exchange. National asks, is Money Acumen more of an independent advisory or do you participate directly in stock trading? So National, we are both. We are an independent financial advisory firm. We are a regulated broker as well, so we're able to purchase shares for our clients. And we also have another division, which is our corporate and investment banking division, which helps with mergers and acquisitions, IPOs, listings, and a whole assortment of activities on the corporate side. So yes, you can come to us to get your advice on what you should do, not just on the stock market, but across other investment classes. You can buy and sell your shares through us as well. And if you're a corporate, we can also assist you with your corporate advisory. All right. Minimum for investment. This is a great question by Tawani. So it's a very interesting question to answer because the minimum depends on the price of the stock at that time. We generally recommend that every person should purchase at least 100 shares. We think you get a bit more value from that, but it will really depend on the price of the stock. For example, ShopRite shares are trading for 350 kwacha shares. So if you were to buy 100 of those, you need 35,000 kwacha. Whereas CEC shares are trading at around 22 kwacha 85. So you need about 2,200 kwacha. Standard Chartered shares are trading roughly around 2 kwacha 50 ish. So you'd need about 250 kwacha. So the most important thing when it comes to investment is the value of the stock that you are investing in. Right, let's see. Are we listed on the LuSE app? Great question. We are not yet on the LuSE app. We are on the next update for Q4 of 2024 to be listed. The Lusaka Securities Exchange is making a few alterations on the back end to make sure this listing goes through. So for the time being, what we are doing is we are having our clients write to us so that we can purchase on their behalf. A great advantage, though, is because it's a central securities depository, even after we make the executions on your behalf, you will still be able to see your share listings in the LuSE app. We are hoping that by the time the year ends, the Lusaka Securities Exchange would have pushed out the latest update, and we will be on the next update of the LuSE app. Okay, I'll quickly, let's see, what is the minimum amount you would advise and how many companies for a start? This really depends on your risk appetite and your needs in Onge. It's a very difficult question to answer because your needs might be different from the next person, but we're happy to reach out to you and have an additional conversation to do that. Let's see very quickly. I want to see if I can quickly answer a couple questions. Let's see. The CSD account, I'll just quickly do that so we can open up to the questions. You cannot trade international markets with the CSD opened in Zambia, Lumpa. It's only for the Zambian market. You can have more than one broker, Brian. That is, you can do that. Let's see what else. What do we have here? There's no age limit, Tawane. Tawane asks if there's an age limit for one to invest. As long as you have a birth certificate, you can invest. And I think this is a great opportunity to talk about our junior trading accounts. We offer a service whereby anybody with a birth certificate, so that can be as young as 1 month old, can participate. And parents love this service because they're able to purchase shares for their children and then hand them over at a later stage. So up to the age of 18, anybody younger than the age of 18 can have a junior trading account opened for them. Beyond the age of 18, that account to be an individual account. So age limit, we are breaking down the barriers to entry by allowing parents to open accounts in trust for their children. So no, not really. There's an age limit. All we need is that there's a legal birth certificate of the child and the account can be opened. Okay, what I'll do now is we'll sit down with the rest of the team to answer the rest of the questions because the questions keep coming. I will allow in the next 5 minutes maybe one or two questions if anybody would like to ask a question directly. Blessings, can they go ahead and unmute? Yeah. Okay, great. So maybe we can have one or two live questions. And then for everyone else whose questions I didn't manage to answer, please put them in the chat. We will collate all the questions and then respond via email. Okay, so I see one hand from Tawani. So Tawani, please, you can unmute and go ahead and ask your question. Sorry, Tawani, I don't think I can hear you. Okay, maybe while we wait, let's try. I see Willie Monday, your hand went up first, so you can go ahead and unmute and ask. Sorry, Willie, are you able to unmute? I still can't hear you. Okay. Let's just 1 second. I just want to see if there's an issue on our end because we can't hear the questions. Please, 1 minute. Great. Mics are disabled. Give us 1 second. All right, we're just having our IT have a look and see what's going on with the mics. Okay, all right. Okay, it seems we've got a bit of a challenge there with the mics. So I do sincerely apologize. We won't be able to take some live questions on this session. So please, John, Willie, Tawani, if you could please type your questions in the chat, we will reach out to you directly. And that goes for you as well, Sampa. If you could just type your questions in the chat, you as well, Andrew, just type your question in the chat and we shall reach out to you. Via email and via our other channels. Let me see, we have 2 minutes left, and what I'll do now is I'll hand over back to Blessings, who was our host, for some closing statements, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Once again, thank you so much for spending an hour of your Friday with us. I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to working with you to build in your stock portfolios. Thank you, everybody. God bless and have a lovely weekend. Blessings.
Okay, thank you so much, Martin. That was very insightful. So everybody, thank you so much for attending. We are going to attend to each and every question that you have. So we have some pinned links. There's one for opening an account and another one for stockbroking. Kindly reach out to our relationship manager that she's going to guide you through almost all of these steps. And I also noticed that most people are not verified. So kindly use the pinned link to register yourself because next week we're going to have the session again and we'll be updating you throughout. But otherwise, thank you everybody and we'll see each other next week.